everyone! Welcome to the channel dedicated to sharing the profound insights and wisdom of Andromedan contactee Alex Collier. If you're new here, you're in for a journey that expands your mind and consciousness, bringing you closer to understanding the messages from the fifth density Andromedan extraterrestrials. For those returning, we're grateful for your continued support. Before we dive into today's enlightening content, we have a small favor to ask. If you find value in the knowledge shared in this video, please consider hitting that like button, subscribing to our channel, and clicking the bell icon so you never miss an update. Your engagement helps us amplify Alex Collier's message, allowing us to reach a larger audience with these vital messages. We'd also love to hear from you, so please engage with the comments below. Whether it's a question, your thoughts, or even just an emoji for the sake of engagement, every comment counts. We read every single comment, and your feedback is incredibly valuable to us. Additionally, if you'd like to support us further, consider giving a super thanks tip by clicking the heart with the $sign. This small gesture allows us to continue bringing you more of Alex's messages, unfiltered and directly from his lifelong experiences with the Andromedans. Now sit back, relax, and enjoy today's video.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for attending the live webinar. On behalf of myself, James and JP, I want to thank you for your time. I understand that for some of you here, it's evening. For some of you, it's midday, and for others, it's the wee hours of the morning. And we are so appreciative of your time and your support. It means a lot to us. We have a lot to cover. And I hope y'all are watching the skies. Wherever you are, you're part of the world. Because we're going to talk about that as well today. There is some extraordinary things going on, but let's start with current stat. If you're watching the political things here in North America, the circus continues. There are some remarkable things going on. Investigation of the investigators. And it should be very telling here in the next several months where things are at. It'll be interesting to see how it all plays out. Many people are very confident that the outcome will be something that is not only very good and awakening, but also it will create far more constitutional restrictions on government than we've seen in a long time. Along with that, there are a lot of things that are going on that simply aren't being covered. It's almost as if the entire government thing, very specific news items are being greatly exaggerated in order to distract us from other things that are going on. And because we're being distracted, we're not aware of a lot of things that are going on around the world. For example, about 10 days ago, scientists have been talking about a tectonic plate off the coast of Portugal that is tearing itself apart. Now, this would be news in any other cycle. I don't know if they're talking about it in Europe. They're certainly not talking about it here in the States. Now, the fact that it's tearing itself apart is would suggest that, and we've talked about this in previous webinars, and so have other speakers, is that the Earth is expanding. She's getting bigger, all right? And that would be a piece of evidence that would explain why it's tearing itself apart. it's expanding. It's making room. It's going to be making the difference across the pond, maybe a little bit bigger or a little bit smaller. We will have to see. Now, at the same time, that's occurring in the Atlantic. On May 12th, something extraordinary happened on the West Coast, which no one's talking about, unfortunately. And what happened in the wee hours of the morning, at approximately 130 miles off the coast of Oregon, buoys that NOAA has all over the oceans, several buoys detected an issue, a problem, and set off alarms. And what happened was the Juan de Fuca Plate, in an approximate 30-mile area of the Juan de Fuca Plate, actually sank 4 feet. And it did this in 2.5 minutes. Now, you would think, well, okay, that's not a big deal, 4.5 feet. Well, this was at almost 9,000 feet below sea level, all right? So you have a column of water that then sank and filled in. Now, the saving grace here is that that water, that seabed did not rise back up to where it was. It did not rise 4 feet, because if it had, it would have caused a tsunami 45 to 50 feet, approximately 60 miles wide, that would have hit the West Coast from Portland, Oregon, up to Vancouver in about 20 minutes. But it didn't. And what they have now found out is that the Juan de Fuca Plate slipped underneath the North American plate by 4 feet. Why is this significant? Well, we've talked about the Juan de Fuca Plate. Many people have over the years. There's movement. There's a lot of movement on the planet. And that's because there are a lot of gravitational fields that are not only hitting the Earth, but passing through the Earth. We also have a star system, Hercules, the Nibiru star system, and its red dwarf in passing through our star system. And we're going to come back to that in a minute. There are a lot of people that I really care about on the West Coast. I do not know if this is going to go. And if it is going to go, I don't know when. But we have to be cognizant of the fact that the Earth is alive and she's moving. She's growing, she's expanding, she's changing. Not only that, but we also know that the magnetic poles are moving towards the north. We also know that the sun is rising and setting a little bit further north, which means that the planet physically has adjusted. We also know that the GPS satellites all around the planet are being adjusted. Okay, new software has to be put into it because it cannot make the adjustments and the changes in the Earth's locations quick enough. In other words, to do it from the ground, to adjust every satellite from the ground takes too long, and the changes are too rapid. So they're having to upload software. Now, this new software will not work with a lot of the older GPS equipment. Again, this is change. The Earth is changing. We're changing as well, but let's deal with the Earth. So we have the GPS systems having to be changed. If you're paying attention, if you know any pilots, commercial pilots, talk to them, ask them about how the runways are being remarked, and they're changing those on a very regular basis now. You might also want to ask them about what they're seeing in the sky. So we have those issues. Okay, we have the Earth changes issues, such as plate movement and the expansion of other plates, the tearing apart of other plates. A lot going on. That, of course, nobody's talking about because we're all being distracted by this other stuff. I'm going to ask you again when this is over, or if you want to wait, because when this is over, I'm going to be sending links to James, or you can just do it yourself. I want you to go to WSO, Wyoming, Sierra, Oregon, and listen to the latest video he has posted, and I believe it's titled, "What in the Worlds?" Need you to pay attention to that. Okay, there are some remarkable things there, and he has several other videos going back 4, 5, 6 days. If you haven't caught up, you might want to take some time to catch up and to see what's going on in our skies. There have been more sightings of that planet that I've been telling you about between us and Venus. Some very, very good photographs of that as well, taken by FAA weather cams. And at the very end of that particular video, well, there's this Jupiterian looking thing. You're going to want to pay attention to that. And I also want you to go to Skywatchers with Matt Rogers. Again, just remarkable stuff that's there. I also am going to be sending James some pictures and a video link. They've obviously turned on Bluebeam, the holographic camera. They've obviously been turning it on, and they've been practicing with it. So there are some things coming up. And of course, we have talked about this stuff for years, and so have many other speakers throughout the years. But there's something coming. All of this is building to a crescendo. And it's anyway, the video clip that I will be linking you to, and I'll give you the time of where you go just to see it, and the photograph are of a figure that looks just like Jesus Christ. And they're huge. The photograph that you'll see was that was taken down in South America, where this thing was projected moving across a mountain, and it's something to see. And the other was in the sky, and it was Christ on the cross. Again, absolutely something to see. Do I believe this is the end of days? No, I don't buy any of that. But what it is, it's definitely an awakening. Okay. When we spoke about in previous webinars about the Nibiru system, and I know there's still a lot of people that just poo-poo it. I flat don't care, okay? You need to do the research yourself. You need to look at the photographic evidence. You need to look at the satellite data. There's on YouTube there's still plenty of evidence that there are planetary bodies moving and orbiting our sun and in our solar system between us and the sun, that you have to ask yourself, what is going on? Okay? It doesn't matter what I think. What really matters is what you think. And the only way you're going to really know that is to look at the evidence. And that's why I encourage you to do it. And, you know, these kids that are running these websites, you know, they're doing yeoman's work here. It's just, we're blessed that they have risen to the occasion and they're providing this information. And as opposed to just shutting it down and saying, no, I don't want any part of it. Because this is very, very important stuff. This time period that humanity is going through will forever be remembered. And how we manage ourselves during this period of time, of all this rapid change, of all this awareness of what we thought was real and what we now realize is real. And how we adjust and how we embrace the truth as opposed to fiction. It will distinguish our character and the character of humanity from this point forward. It is not to be taken lightly. So that's why I encourage you guys to look at this, because it's not enough just to meditate. It's not enough just to feel good. We have to be aware of everything that's going on around us because we're a part of it. Our consciousness is a part of this growth, of this change. And the more aware you are of everything that's going on around us, not only on the planet, but off the planet, and in our solar system, the easier it's going to be for you to adjust to the changes when they occur and to share your calm wisdom with others when they freak out, when they lose it, because they haven't got a clue of what's going on. And I think if a lot of people really realized what was going on off-world, I think if they really realized or had a real deep inclination to know how many starships are in our solar system at this point and how much assistance we're getting, I think a majority of people would lose it. In the sense that they would lose it because they would feel insecure and fearful, paranoid, because of all the conditioning that humanity's had, especially about ETs. Now, obviously, there's a lot more of extraterrestrial, the extraterrestrial question in the news, in media. There are a lot of great speakers out there who are writing books, doing presentations. There's a lot of information that's coming out from many different sources. But we're still talking to a very, very small percentage of people. It's expanding, but the bulk are the old timers, those who have been here from the beginning, who are still going and showing their support and taking notes, etc. But we need to get to the millennials, and we need to get to the Generation X group here. They need to be aware of what's going on and the changes, because they're powerhouses of consciousness. They really are. They're powerhouses of consciousness. And they are tasked to move humanity forward until other generations come from behind them. So we have an obligation to make sure that they're brought up to speed. Now, we can't force anybody, but you need to know, because at some point, the veil is going to be lifted off of all of this. And it's all going to be out there in front of everybody. And as shocked as probably all of us will be anyway, those of us who know, those of us who have had experience, you know, because many of us will feel vindicated. Many of us are going to want to turn around and say, I told you so, you know. Of course, that's not the right response. But nonetheless, at that point is when the real work begins. It isn't convincing somebody that that's a starship or a UFO. That's not the issue. The real issue is, how is it important to humanity, and how do we embrace the reality that we are and never have been alone? But yet we've been made to think for thousands of years that we are alone, and that we're just a pool of chemicals that was an accident. You know, at least that's the science part of it, right? The religious part is well, that's a whole nother story. I'm choosing my words carefully here. Okay. Way back when, many webinars ago, I think they were in maybe 2016, 2017, we talked about Nibiru. And for some reason it stopped. It parked itself behind our sun, the dwarf star. But the planets, however, began to do a rotation. They settled in an orbit, okay, around the sun and on the inside of our solar system. Well, apparently it's moving again. So that means there's a lot of change coming. And I don't know if you're aware of this, but things really feel like they've been sped up. And there's some real truth to that, because apparently the speed of light has increased. And if that's true, then some very significant things have occurred, unbeknownst to us. According to the Yays, and I talked about this in the 90s, how we measure light, the speed at which we measure light would be the exact speed of how our neurons fire in our brain and we think. So they would be the same. Now, if NASA and the European Space Union is correct, and MIT and Cambridge scientists are correct, that the speed of light is now faster, it's moving faster. And if the A's are right, then what that would signify is that consciousness within humanity has changed. It's now moving faster, which is a good thing. Okay, that's a good thing. That adds credence to the awakening scenario, that humanity is waking up. It's coming out of its sleep, of its slumber, and we are totally in line with the universe, the speed of light, consciousness, etc. And we're moving forward together to embrace some type of new future that's coming. A future which we have to participate in creating. That's the key thing here. We have to participate in the creating of whatever this new future is for humanity. Now, the fact that we're still here, the fact that we have all this assistance should calm everyone down. It shouldn't be a focal point of fear, because clearly we have help. Clearly, we have value that they would take all of these resources and be here to assist our little planet. Now, I don't know for a fact that we're the only ones that are here to help. It could be that all across the universe, our galaxy and in other places, other galaxies, in third and fourth dimension, that they're being assisted. I do not know this for a fact. But I do know for a fact that we are getting the help. And we are here and we are being here right now. In learning to manage the frequencies, in learning to manage the Schumann resonance, which is spiking all over the place. In order to manage the amount of energies that our body is not only being subject to, but also the amount of energy that we harness, that we are pulling into our bodies and that we are holding on to. I was given a exercise, and that exercise was your breath. If you pay attention to your breath, and I mean you are absolutely in your body, consciously aware of you inhaling and exhaling, inhaling and exhaling. If you consciously are aware of that, as much as possible, you will process all this light that is blowing through your body, that is making your DNA vibrate so fast, that is causing your body to expand in frequency. Because that's what we're talking about, okay? The more light you hold, the faster your DNA vibrates, the higher your frequency. At some point in some of you, what will happen is you will reach a threshold where your two-strand, double-strand DNA will add a third strand to handle the frequency. And for those of you that this occurs to, man, you're off to the races, okay? That's not going to happen with everyone. Now, we've talked about those who have had near-death experiences, those who have died and have come back. Their DNA is altered. There's been tests and tests and studies about this all along. They just never talked about it because they can't explain it. It's a spiritual component, a metaphysical component that they simply don't know how to address, or they're being told not to, okay? But nonetheless, it's still a fact, a reality. And we talked about that in previous webinars as well. So for me, it's interesting because these things that we've talked about over the years and over the 81 webinars, God, that's amazing. Over the 81 webinars, we're beginning to see these things line up. And it's not enough to have the information. You have to know what to do with it. Okay, we have to know how to use it. We need to try to put things in a perspective of, okay, what's happening? What are the possible scenarios of how this could play out? What would be my role? How can I support my family and or friends in this transition? Am I living in the right place? Am I right with the right partner? Am I getting the emotional and spiritual support I need for this transition? Those are all really good questions to ask. And they should be asked. whatever conclusions you come up with, I'm sure will be right. But what's important here is that whatever choices you make regarding this change that's occurring not only to the earth but to humanity, to you, that you voluntarily be on board with it, that you voluntarily embrace the change, that you are clear about what it is and what it's not. And the only way to do that is to really do the work, to do the research. And to know for yourself. Because the media is not going to tell us. It isn't going to happen. You shouldn't believe anything they say anyway at this point. They have destroyed their own credibility with just stupid shit. Okay? We're talking about life-changing stuff. Do you really honestly think they would come clean? No. Which is why we have to do the work. Okay? The evolved, benevolent star nations are self-rule. The citizens of those worlds have an organization that represents them in trade, in diplomacy, in conflict. Those things happen. Even if they're not war, there's still disagreements or differences of opinion. But the people are all self-empowered and they practice self-rule. Now, that's what America was founded on. That was one of the original intents, was to create self-rule. And it was something that humanity has called forth after thousands and thousands and thousands of years of monarchies and tyrants. America's done some things really well, and some things it hasn't done well at all. But nonetheless, the fact that it manifested on Earth means that we are in fact moving in a direction, a movement forward towards genuine, true responsibility and freedom. Otherwise, these things wouldn't manifest. They wouldn't be in our consciousness at all. But they are, you see, they are. And that's a reflection of awakening, of spiritual growth, of movement, of yearning, of calling forth what it is that we want as a race. Guys, there's profound change coming. Profound change is coming. It's right there in front of us. I don't know how it's going to manifest, but when you look at what's happening around the planet, when you look at the fact that they've obviously turned on blue beam. And you know, for those of us who have been following this, we knew the dark side will pull this out of their hat at the very end. Okay, for them, this was like one of their last gasps to fake the second coming. We knew this. And you'll see the evidence and you'll just have to decide for yourself. But if it clicks, if it makes sense to you, then you have to know that we're at a point where all the deceit is going to go away. And that what's left is the truth. Because the truth can always stand on its own. It always has and it always does. It's always the last thing standing because it's real. And we're there. We're there. If the blue beam that they're honing and tightening up the blue beam thing scenario. We're close to ending the regressive reign of power on this planet. And when that happens, when it's exposed, and it collapses once and for all, and it's exposed once and for all, the leadership of the world has to come from us. You can't put these idiots back in power. You can't let these idiots stay. Oh, I'm sorry, we were only kidding. No. Got a clean house. Got a clean house. And either create something new or go back to the very simple basics of self-rule. We'll have assistance. I know we'll have assistance. But I can honestly tell you, they're not going to want to come in here and babysit. And I'm talking about the benevolence. That is not their job. Okay? Now the regressives, they fake the second coming and more than enough people buy into it. You know, they're going to want to rule over you. But that's not freedom. That's someone telling you what to do so you don't have to take any responsibility. And your evolution will be stunted for more lifetimes. Here we are on the brink of huge change. And all we have to do is embrace it. And step up, man up, woman up, and accept the responsibility of ourselves and humanity. We'll get help. You have to understand that it's not a question of, oh my God, these problems are so big, we can't possibly figure it out. Ladies and gentlemen, there is nothing on this planet that the benevolence haven't already seen or have already dealt with. They understand. That is not what they're looking for, okay? They're not looking for a way to fix it. They already know how to fix it. What they're looking for is leadership. Responsible leaders. That has to come from the people. Evolved, awake people have to step into places of power. They have to get involved. They have to be on board with the change. Because this is our future. It's not their future. It's our future. It's the future of our race, our children, our grandkids, our great-great-grandchildren. Okay? And that's why I need you guys or I'm asking you. Because I know this is a very, very smart, evolved group. I need you to pay attention to what's going on around us. Because you can't take a slice and master that slice and think you got the whole piece, because you don't. We have to know as much as possible of what's going on around us. So that is, as the information comes forward, as we are brought up to speed on who's here, why they're here, how they want to help, and how they would be comfortable interacting with us, we have to be able to step up into those positions. We have to be able to rise to the occasion. This isn't a situation where They want to be worshipped. Dude, not what this is about. Okay, you've already had that, whether you knew it or not. Okay? That's what you've been living with. That's not what this is. I don't know if I'm being articulate enough about this. It's so hard to sometimes put these things in words. The stuff when I'm at work or in the car, and but it's tough, and there's so many distractions, and I have a kitchen that's so small I have to leave it to change my mind and then walk back in to the kitchen. I can't change my mind in the kitchen because there's not enough room. But hey, we all have stuff. We've all got our thing going on. But that's what makes this so interesting. Because we have all these things, and what appear to be limitations maybe aren't, but they certainly feel like it. But at the same time, we have this incredible moment in world history, global history, history of humanity. If we look at the idea, and we'll go back to the Sumerian text for a moment. If we go back to the idea that humanity was originally created as a slave race to work the mines, okay, because the Nibiru and the Anunnaki chose not to work in the mines anymore. So that's what we were supposed to do. And we did. And we flourished on the surface. And we have been considered by many races, including regressives, as a slave race. Well, here we are on the cusp of not only awakening, not only positioning ourselves to jump a dimension, physically, spiritually, but if we were created a slave race, we are now on the cusp of completely freeing humanity from all the shackles and all the history of being a slave. Maybe that's another way to look at this, where this would inspire people to want to step up into leadership roles. Now, I'm not saying you have to run for governor or state senate or police chief, but you can certainly be a leader in your community, certainly with your families. Now, I understand a lot of families don't want to hear about this. They're totally not into it. They're into their phones, their iPhones, YouTube, Twitter. I get all that. But all that nonsense isn't always going to be in the way, right? It's not. If you're paying attention, you know the dangers of all of this is already being brought forth to the consciousness of humanity, okay? The abuse of power that these companies have and are using and doing to humanity, it's already being brought forth. So I'm asking you to just think about it, okay? To think about the idea with all the knowledge that you have, all the awareness that you have. if they play out the fake second coming, if they play out this stuff, the dark side, their last poker chip, if they put their last poker chip down on the table and it blows up in their face, which I fully expect it to do, how are you going to respond when the whole thing collapses? Because when this fake second coming collapses, many, if not all of the world's religions are going to be exposed for what they are. And that is a huge piece of a person's identity. When that's stripped away, people are going to be empty. They're going to be angry. They're going to be afraid because they're not going to know what's real. How do we handle that? How do we address that with people that we know and love and care about? That's a biggie. That's a biggie. And at the same time, you have these starships all over the place. You have these planets, extrasolar system, orbiting around us now, but eventually we'll be moving and passing over, and we'll see it. We'll see it. How do we address this? How do we feel about it? How does it sit with us first? And then how do we address it with, again, those that we know and love and care about? I'm asking you to think about it. It's definitely it's time to think about those things. What also falls in line with this is the changing of the world's currency system, going back to a gold standard. It's happening as we speak. It's not happening fast enough for any of us. Totally aware of that. But it is in fact happening. And one side of the planet or the other is going to wake up one morning and it's done. The other side of the planet will be awake when it happens, and you'll know instantaneously that it's done. And it isn't long. It's not far away at all. I mean, we're hours, days, maybe, because it's moving forward. There won't be a world war. That's drama. There won't be a war with Iran. That's drama. Okay? It's a distraction. Keeps everybody looking in a different direction. They're good. These folks are really, really good at what they do. They've had a lot of practice fooling us and distracting us and getting us to look the other way. You know, China's going to go to the moon. India's going to go to the moon. Amazon's going to go to the moon. No, they're not. No, they're not. Okay? That's a distraction. Look at the moon. No, ladies and gentlemen, look at the sun. Look at what's going on around the sun. That star of ours. That's where you got to look. Not the moon, not some old, ancient, hollow out Orion space station. You need to watch the star, the sun. That's where the shit's at. That's where things are happening. Okay? It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. There was an Indian prophet, and I'm paraphrasing this. There was an Indian prophet who said, when you get up in the morning, Do you think about what you can do to contribute to the world, or you just make it all about yourself? And then he paused. And his next response was, if you could fix that one thing, everything in your life would go right. Being of service. Obviously, you have to take care of yourself, but it is still always about being of service. Most of you watch your families back. Okay? You do. It's instinctive. Well, humanity is a family. And I realize we don't think that way, but we are. That's how all of them see us. Even the regressives, they know we're one family, but they also know how to divide us and keep us separated, keep us warring with each other so we don't unite and go after them. They know this. That's why they take this tactic. And they divide and separate us and get us to kill each other so that we never unite and go after them. That's why they do it. But the benevolence, they only see one tribe on our planet. We need to fix this one thing. We have got to see ourselves as one tribe. And if that takes destroying the world's religions, so be it. Let it come. Because we have got to get our act together. And it'd be a hell of a lot easier if we did it together. All of us. Let me see here. Pay attention to your breath. I know for me, and it's been several weeks now, my breath was, when I would click in and start thinking about my breath during any part of my day, I would find my breath was very shallow because I was stressed. And I wasn't even aware of it. And the shallow breath only makes my body work harder and makes it more stressful because it's not getting enough oxygen. So by paying attention to my breath, I am relieving more and more stress out of my body. It's not even there. I also find it a lot easier to do my tasks at the hardware stores, and around the house and working on the car, constantly having to work on my car, fix shit. But it's easier. I find myself in a much better frame of mind. Try it. If you can, or if you want to, pay more attention to your breath. Have control of you. And it all begins and ends with the breath. For those of you who meditate, you already know this. But there's a lot of us who have to steal moments of prayer, of meditation. Because our obligations have us doing all these other things we don't want to do. In other words, it gets in the way of our life. Okay. There's all this shit that gets in the way of our life. So, that's what I got. That's what I got for today. It's an amazing time. It truly is. There's a part of me that is profoundly excited about this time that's here now, and watching it really begin to unfold. Especially having talked about it for 28 years. I could have kept my mouth shut in hindsight, would have been a really good idea. You know, and I still would be excited about this time. Um, because there's nothing like watching your friends grow, like it is watching your children grow. You know, your daughters become women and then mothers, and your sons become men and then fathers. Those are moments of pride, of thankfulness, of, wow, I did something right, or you did something right, or we did something right. Or just the fact that the children did something right. They stepped up and they embraced responsibility. I know for me, in all the years I've felt like I've had to defend humanity from our idiocy and just the morons that have run this planet. It would be really great to see humanity step into responsibility, truly. Okay, I would love to do some questions, if anybody has any. If not, I'm gonna go get an ice cream. Hey, JP.
Right, well, hang on, bring the mic closer. There we go. This is from Shu Arvia. What good is a currency reset if the central banks remain in control?
They won't be in control. They won't be in control. You just need to do a little bit of research. That's the whole reason for it. All the central banks are going away. And that's why the City of London will no longer be setting the pricing for gold and silver, because of the fact that they've abused it for so long and they fixed it for so long. The Rothschild central bank system is going away. That's the whole purpose of doing it, is to free humanity and all the nation states from this prison. That was the reason for doing it. So obviously you're new to this. You haven't been following this. So just do some research on it. There are a lot of very good blogs that explain this process for you. Not only that, but they're moving to a quantum financial system, and you will have access to your wealth no matter where you are in the world. Okay? It's similar to blockchain. You will have access to your money no matter where you are. So no one can steal it from you, which is another thing the banks are really, really good at. Okay.
From Mason Adams. Greetings, Alex. What do you think the integration of the secret space program into society will look like? And do you think Donald Trump will be the one to disclose them after he finishes up cleaning the deep state?
Great question. I think if Trump wins in 2020, that will come to fruition. He will be the one to finish cleaning out most of the deep state, or at least flush out the rats so we know who they all are. And then the process from that point on will be, to remove them. As far as the integration of the Space Force, That's a very interesting idea. How does that actually occur? Technically, I think a lot of that, some of that has already begun. And it began in the 50s. Transistors, lasers, fiber optics, um, digital electronics, color, sound, light healing, although some of that was used in the past. But now there is actual technology. They're called med beds here on Earth. The A's call it a holographic camera. We're still basically talking about the same thing. I think there's been a great deal of technology that was reverse engineered and deeming on its national security level or its ability to be used as a weapon. It was declassified and then brought out commercially to the public. I think a lot of that's been going on. I think the biggest jump will be the healing stuff, and I think the free energy. Excuse me. Cold fusion, being able to build a facility for several $1 million that will power 50,000 homes for 150 years for free. I think that's stellar. I think that's absolutely outstanding. And that should be the next thing that comes out. Because now you're eliminating the use of a lot of pollutants. Now that doesn't eliminate cars or trucks and things of that nature, but at some point it will. It will eliminate some of that stuff gradually. And there is technology to clean the air, clean the water, remove radiation from the oceans to I have heard that there are fourth density races. There may even be some third that has technology where they can take a piece of uranium and they put it through a process where they age it in like a matter of hours so that it's no longer radioactive. They bring it to end of life. And that would go a long way to cleaning up all of our dumps and what's happening in the Pacific Ocean. And what's happening all in the northern Atlantic, where Russia's been dumping all of its nuclear toxic waste up there as well. So, there's a lot of promise. It's just, for those of us who know, it's just like it's taking forever. It's like molasses. You're waiting for it to come out of the bottle. Or that brand new ketchup bottle, you open it and you're like, where's the ketchup? Why won't it come out? It's like that. But the promise is there. The technology is there. A lot of things have to occur. But we're moving forward. We know that the process is moving forward. I've used this quote once before or several times before, and this seems like an appropriate time. It's a quote from Star Trek, where Spock said, "The needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few." There are more and more of us who get that. They really do. Especially after the United Nations started talking about 2030, about culling half of the world's population. That got everybody's attention. That really did. Where they were like, okay with this. They were okay with doing this to humanity. we're going to be okay. We're going to be okay. It's just a bitch waiting for it. It really is. It's just like, when you're a kid and there's the Christmas tree and there's the packages all wrapped up and you want to open up that box. You want to open up that present because you want to know if it's Rock'em Sock'em Robots. You want to know if it's a set of golf clubs. Okay, or if it's that brand new Schwinn Stingray. You want to know. You want to open up that box. And you can't. And you can't. You have to wait for it. That's tough. And that's where we are. We're in the wait for it stage. So, but we're going to be okay. I really know we're going to be okay. Which is a good thing because that gives us this timeline here, this bit of time to really get our acts together, as much as possible. And that's all anybody could ask for. As long as we use the time wisely and we focus on our intentions. What is it that we want? What does it look like to have the life you really want? Imagine that. Genuinely imagine that. And we'll get there. We absolutely will get there. Okay, JP.
Okay, why did the Queen invite Trump, this is from Lauren, to Buckingham Palace, and what do you think they'll be discussing? Also, what's the connection between Serco, Senior Executive Services, and the GCR?
Well, as far as the Queen inviting Trump over to England, he is head of state. That conversation could be about a lot of things. It could be about MI6 and MI5 spying on Trump and his family and his campaign. It could also be talking about Christopher Steele extraditing his lying skinny ass to the United States to stand trial. It could be about dissolving the Federal Reserve. Maybe he's going to tell her in person that he's going to nationalize it and it's done, it's over. And with that will be the Internal Revenue Service, that he will be abolishing that once and for all and instituting a national sales tax. And that therefore the Windsors, the Queen, will no longer be getting a significant portion of all the tax dollars collected on the interest of the debt. Because what a lot of people don't realize is that the Bank of England is the largest stockholder of the Federal Reserve. And the Bank of England, the significant portion of the stock of the Bank of England is owned by the Windsors. So maybe he's just going to deliver the message personally because he's kind of like that, He'd rather tell you to your face that you're fired. And maybe that's what he's going to do. Or he really likes tea and crumpets and he wants to hang with her. As far as Serco and the GCR, I'm not aware that they're connected in any way, shape, or form. But I can tell you that Serco's on the chopping block as well. All over the world, they're looking at Serco and the criminality of that corporation. And I've said this before. If you were to, the James Bond movies, if you were to substitute Serco for Spectre, that's more about what it is. Okay? Just substitute Serco for Spectre. And then you got an idea of what it's really about. So, they all had their run. They did. The problem was they never gave anything back. They didn't do anything to help humanity. They just took and took and took and took and took. They bled everything dry. And when you kill the host, you kill everything. Except this time the host figured it out and decided that it was going to keep the last little bit of blood it had, and it was cutting them off. So that's all I know about it. There's other intel regarding Trump's meeting with the Queen, the president's meeting with the Queen. I'm sure it'll all come out at some point. Okay, I'm good.
Okay. Violet is asking for the WSO website Alex gave earlier.
Just go to YouTube, WSO. Pull it up, click on the logo, WSO, and I think it's the last one that he did. His last 4 or 5 have been excellent, but the last one is What in the Worlds, plural. That's the one you want to see. Okay? It's good. There are some religious connotations, different strokes for different folks. But go through the whole thing, and at the end, pay attention to what's there at the end. It's good. It's good. There's a lot going on. It's exciting. It really is. It's a brand new day. It's a brand new day. All right, JP.
Floating cities in China. Bluebeam?
Good question. Could be. It could also be a dimensional rift. Could be a dimensional rift. Remember, we share Earth, shares 3rd density, 4th density, and I'm told some 5th density life forms, existences, share the same space with us. It could be that the floating cities are a rift for future cities that are built in the sky, or it's something from the ancient past, or it's Bluebeam. It's really hard to say. I honestly don't know. It could be all of the above, or just one of the above. The reason you have to include this is here in the United States, we have an area called the Superstitious Mountains in Arizona. There's a lot of weird shit that happens there. And for those who hike it, who are hunters, that's an area most of them will never go into alone because strange things happen there. And the Native Americans and the Indians have all kinds of legends of portals that open, and they see another world inside that portal. And some people have gone in and have never come back. Portals have opened and they just look in, they don't get near it, but they can see a different reality that isn't around the portal, the opening. Others have seen beings come out of it, of the portal, and then go back in. So you cannot discount those type of things, because if you know basic quantum physics, all things are possible, especially in a multidimensional universe, which we clearly live in. All things are possible to multidimensional beings, which we clearly are. So, that's just another set of books to read. Okay, more homework to add to your list of to-dos. But most of you already get this. You do. You already get it. But it's one thing to physically experience those type of things. as opposed to reading it and understanding it and like I said, understanding it. But it's another to physically experience those things. Then you know that they're real, and you know, when you hear these type of things, you give it a little more credence because you yourself have experienced some of those type of things. Now, I don't know how to tell you to do it, and I certainly don't think you should go run to the superstitious mountains and go hiking by yourself, because a lot of people disappear up there, and the rangers will tell you that. In fact, on YouTube, there's a lot of videos of trackers and guides, hiking guides, who will tell you about the strange shit that goes on there. And that's just here in Arizona. There are places like that all over the world. South America, there's a lot of very strange places where the veil between third and fourth dimension is very, very thin. And, you know, playing a specific tune on a pipe of a very specific frequency will open the door, will open a window. There's all kinds of things like that. So, you know, those legends are all over the place. The Aborigines know about it down there in Australia. They know about the windows, the doors. So, okay, next question.
I know the Arcturians are encouraging a messianic push, like with Jesus. Arcturians, anyway, know anything about this? Thank you for the great webinars from Leslie Anderson.
Hi, Leslie. No, I don't. I don't know anything about that.
Meanwhile, Mauro is curious to know what the A's think about those people that carry signs of Jesus on their body. For example, those who have their body's blood come out from hands, feet, and ribs. Stigmata.
That's a very good question. That's not a subject I've ever approached them about, the stigmata. I don't know what they would think about that. I'll have to add that to the list of questions. Thank you, Carrie.
So that was from Mauro.
From
Violet. She's got several questions and is asking, what is blue beam? What effect does it have on us, positive or negative? How might the second coming look like? And what's been observed about what's happening around the sun?
Okay, blue beam, just go to YouTube, type in blue beam. There is tons of information about it. It's something that was begun in the 80s to create a holograph in the sky. As far as the second coming, I believe that the Bible gives an example of what it would look like, how he comes out of the clouds. I think that's probably exactly what they're going to do, because that's what everybody would expect. Because there are many people that consider the New Testament as the absolute Word of God, the creator of all the dimensions, the generator of all dimensions, and the creator of all universes, that he would take time to write a book. So that information is there as well on YouTube. There are many people who have been talking about this kind of thing for quite some time. This is not brand new. What is new is the fact that they've obviously been practicing in remote parts of the world with this technology. Anyway, when we're done with this, I will forward the picture and the link to James. It might take me about an hour to get it done, because I have something to do right after this is over. Um, so let's see. What was the last part? What would that look like?
Yeah, second coming.
Yeah, he would come out of the clouds. Wasn't there? There was some chatter in the '90s. What the hell was his name? El Moira? Is that who it was? Um, I don't remember. There was someone who was physically manifesting in certain parts of the world. Um, you know, there were a lot of rumors in those days because the internet was just a baby. Um, but I don't know. All that information is readily available to you. I'd rather get a couple more questions in than to spend the last bit of time on that when you can actually find that out yourself on YouTube. So, but thank you for asking that question, especially for others who may have wanted to ask that same question but couldn't get through on the call. Okay.
Okay.
Last question.
Okay. Some time ago, you mentioned that we as humans had reached 28%. And in defending sacred ground, the A's said they needed 10%. So how come they haven't intervened? Or do we need to be more specific? Or gather as one, for example, in one day?
Okay. Who says they haven't intervened? Who says they're not intervening all the time? Who says all the other star nations that are here aren't in fact intervening? That's an assumption that they haven't intervened yet. It's a huge assumption. They are intervening all the time, but they're not going to park a starship over Greece or Scotland or New York City and freak everybody the hell out. Okay, there has to be a very gradual acknowledgement of life. You see, it's easy for us because we understand what's going on. But we are still, even at 28%, a very small portion of the world's population. Most people are still extremely fearful of just about everything and extremely paranoid. You can't light that fuse because how are you going to put that back in the bottle once you light it off? You can't. So what you have to do is you have to expand that 28% far more gradually or quicker that's a better way of putting it. You need to expand the 28 to 35, to 45, to 55, to 65, to the point where it's, whether you've seen a ship or not, it's common knowledge that they're real. So that when you do see one, you have a recognition that it's already a reality. Most of the population is not there yet. They're just not. I mean, even here in the United States, look at the fear and paranoia that's been created by the media. It's appalling, absolutely appalling. And I can't speak for what's happening in Europe, but I would assume it's probably not all that different. The fear, the propaganda, the fear porn that's created every single day, the economy, it's going to collapse for this reason or that reason. The world's going to end. We're in the end times. This nonsense is put out there every single minute of every single day somewhere on the earth. The only ones who aren't getting it are those who are working in rice paddies or working in fields in the Himalayas or the Peruvian mountains. They're not listening to this nonsense, okay? They're doing their thing. They're taking care of their families. They're in a family unit. So, there is tons of intervention going on, and I've been saying that for 81 webinars. So don't assume that they haven't done anything. You just haven't seen it. Or if you have seen it, you don't know how to acknowledge it, or you don't know what their intervention has looked like and where it's been. I can honestly tell you from my perspective, back in 91 when I started to talk, to today, it is absolutely remarkable how far we've come. It's been amazing, literally be amazing. And I know if you talk to Dave Icke, he'd probably tell you the exact same thing. He'd probably also tell you we're not far enough yet. And I would absolutely agree with him. But when he started, Bill Cooper, there was a group of us that, we did all the dog and pony shows together. And all we had was each other, because the crowds were small, but the hostility was great. Just amazing. So we've come a long way, but like I said earlier, there's the prize. Can we open it? And it's not time yet. None of this is happening fast enough for us. And I absolutely am on board with that. This is not fast enough for me. But it is what it is. It's not a race. It's a destination for everyone, or as many as possible. And that's all we can do, That's all we can do. But, like I've also said, it gives us time to work on our stuff, to keep honing and polishing ourselves and to go within. And, many of us are wanderers and are searching out here when in fact the discovery is what's inside. There's still some of us learning that. So, guys, I gotta go. Yes, ma'am, I got it. I'm in trouble already. All right, guys. Hey, I love you. I'll see you in a couple weeks. Thank you, and check the site in just a little while, and hopefully James will get that stuff up there. Okay, JP, thank you for your time and your support. James, you as well. All of you here live and those who get the recordings, thank you. I love you to death. Thanks for hanging in there with me all these years. I appreciate you more than you know. All right. God bless. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much for watching today's video. If you found it insightful, please like the video, and if you haven't already, please subscribe to our channel and click the bell icon so you don't miss out on future updates. If you have any questions relating to today's video, please also leave them below. We read all the comments and take on board what our viewers have to say about Alex Collier's work. Remember, your support helps Alex Collier's knowledge and the messages from the Andromedans reach more people. If you'd like to support the channel even more, you can give us a super thanks tip by clicking the heart icon with a $sign. It really helps our team bring you more content. Also, be sure to visit alexcollier.org to sign up for our regular email newsletter. It's the best way to stay updated with the latest news, exclusive content, and upcoming live webinars. For the latest insights from Alex Collier, check out alexcollier.live. And if you want to explore over 250 past webinars, head over to alexcollier.tv. Thank you for being a part of this journey and supporting Alex Collier's work. We couldn't do this without you, and we're genuinely grateful for your support. Until next time, stay curious and keep exploring the vast mysteries of our universe. If you would like to see the Andromedan contactee Alex Collier live via video stream, we hold a live online seminar every Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. For more information on upcoming live webinars, please visit alexcollier.org.